How language manipulates your mind. Welcome to another episode of My Opinion. My name is Rhetoric, and today we'll be talking about the power of words in politics. Well, you are being manipulated, and it's not by magic. It's simply just words. Politicians, advertisers, and media outlets know exactly how to use language, not to inform you, but to control how you think. In this video, we'll uncover the hidden history of how words are weaponized in political and social context, examine modern examples, and show you how you can fight back. Once you understand how language is used to influence you, you will never read a headline the same way again. Now, let's take a deep dive into the hidden history of word manipulation. Let's start with the word you've definitely heard before: propaganda. It sounds sinister today, but it wasn't always. According to Edward Willis Fellows, in his 1959 article, Propaganda, History of a Word, published in the American Speech, the term comes from the Latin word propagare, which means to spread. It was originally used by the Catholic Church in the 17th century to refer to spreading faith through the Congregatio de Propaganda Fide. But during the world wars of the 20th century, its meaning was transformed. It came to be associated with mass manipulation, deception, and the state-sponsored messaging. As Garth S. Jowett and Victoria O'Donnell explain in their foundational text, Propaganda and Persuasion, 2018, propaganda became synonymous with attempts to shape ideology through persuasive communication, often under the guise of objective truth. Words that are used to trick you. Now, let's examine common words that are manipulated to influence thought and emotion. Collateral damage. This term originally comes from financial terminology, meaning the unintended side loss. Today, it's used in military contexts to downplay civilians' death. Instead of saying civilians killed, officials say collateral damage, removing the emotional weight from the truth. Simon Poole, in his 2007 book Unspeak: How the Words Became Weapon, how weapons became a message, and how that message becomes reality. He calls this type of language unspeak, deliberately crafted to sanitize violence. Another word that's been used nowadays is freedom fighter / terrorist. This is one of the clearest examples of how the same individual can be labeled positively or negatively depending on political interest. A rebel resisting an oppressive regime might be called a freedom fighter by allies and a terrorist by enemies. Eugenio Crespo Fernandez, in his 2013 article, Words as Weapon of Mass Persuasion, Euphemism in Churchill's wartime speeches, explains how such euphemisms are used to provoke strong emotions and simplify conflicts. Another word is fake news. Originally, this meant deliberate misinformation, but since 2016, the term has been weaponized to discredit legitimate media by politicians, particularly in the US, regardless of the accuracy or even the accuracy of reports. Harvard Kopeng, in Social Influence by Manipulation, a definition and case of propaganda, discusses how frames are used to manipulate perception, shifting words from objective descriptors into rhetorical weapons. Woke. That word used to mean socially conscious, or someone who's aware of racial or even social injustices. But in recent years, it has been twisted into an insult used to dismissively undermine progressive views. Nicholas O'Shaughnessy, in his 2024 work, Politics and Propaganda, Weapon of Mass Seduction, explores how political actors demonize progressive language to mobilize resistance and reinforce conservative cultural values. Now let's talk about how politicians engineer language. Language is not just passively shaped by the culture. It is actively engineered by those in power. George Orwell warned about this in his 1946 essay, Politics and the English Language. He showed how vague, euphemistic, and misleading language could be used to mask political wrongdoing, and make atrocity sound acceptable. Jiao Fengwen in Linguistic Engineering, the Language and Politics in Maoist China, documents how the communist regime redefined ordinary words like reform, truth, and enemy to control ideology and to suppress dissent. During the World War II, Winston Churchill strategically used harsh and emotionally charged language to unite the public and to vilify the enemy. What Crespo's Fernandez terms dysphemism. It's the opposite of euphemism. This was not casual speech. It was rhetoric engineered for mass influence. How can you defend yourself? The good news is you can train yourself to recognize and resist and to resist this linguistic manipulation. First, you just need to recognize the framing of words. Words like tax relief frame taxes as a burden, even though they fund public services. Now ask yourself, what assumptions are being baked into a phrase and who benefits from those assumptions, right? The second thing is to question euphemisms. Replace sanitized terms with their real-world equivalent. Now, let's take some examples. Words like enhanced interrogation. Their simplified terms are words like torture. Instead of using words like military intervention, use invasion, and these will give you a brief and a very, very clear meaning, unsanitized meaning of those words. The third way to defend yourself is to use etymology. Study word origins. There are websites like www.etymonline, etymonline.com. So that's where you can actually find the history of words and how they evolved and how they've been weaponized. The fourth point is to read widely and critically. No media outlet is neutral. Reading from multiple sources allows you to see different groups, use different words, and to describe the same events, using the same or maybe sometimes different opinions. Now, since we know that language is such a powerful thing, we just need to ask ourselves this question. Does language enslave or does it liberate? When you start noticing how words are used to frame your thinking, you'll take the first step to trying to reclaim your mind. The next time you hear a political slogan or you read a headline, pause and ask, what does this really mean? And who benefits from me understanding it this way? Words shape worlds, and now you know how you can reshape your understanding. Thank you for listening to this episode. I really hope that next time you read into whether it's a book, a headline, an article, you will try to critically analyze where this is trying to lead you to think and how this is trying to reshape your thoughts or your mind. I will include sources that I've mentioned in this. I really hope you'll be able to read through them and maybe give some light to the next person that you can. Thank you once again for listening to this podcast. Until next time.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.